I'm Tad Nicholson, Executive Director of the Ohio Corn and Wheat Growers Association. Have you ever wondered just how agriculture is organized and how we got this way? I mean, look at all of these organizations, and they all represent groups of farmers right here in the Buckeye State. Back in the 1940s and 50s, agriculture largely resembled Farmville. Everyone had a few goats, a few cattle, a few sheep, grew some hay, some crops, and it was all to feed through our livestock. It was very general in our farming. Then in the 60s and all the way through today, we became much more specialized in agriculture. Some really became good at growing crops in that grain production area of agriculture, while others really focused all of their energies into maximizing the efficiency of livestock production. The timeline looks like this. Back in the 1900s, early 1900s, the Farm Bureau and the Farmers Union, the only two organizations around, and they were general in their nature, still are today. And that served us very well up until the 60s, as we mentioned, when we really began to specialize in agriculture. We split ourselves up into checkoff programs and associations. So the checkoff programs are really a collection of farmer dollars, and that becomes funded whenever a farmer sells a load of grain. In our case, a little bit of money comes from each one of those bushels that they sell, comes into one pot, and they are able to collectively invest those dollars. The associations on the right are funded by members who pay a membership dues or a membership fee to a specific organization. So the job of a checkoff is to increase demand, and we do that through a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's advertising, like a Got Milk campaign or a Beef It's What's for Dinner campaign. Sometimes it's through research, like with Ohio Corn Marketing, the early days, even 20 years ago, of investing checkoff dollars in the ethanol industry to become more efficient as an industry, so that ethanol could compete dollar for dollar with gasoline. The job of an association is to advocate for public policy. So collectively, we agree on what our stance on a particular issue might be within a commodity, and we would go to Washington, D.C. or to Columbus, and we would advocate together on that. It's also to be the public voice for a commodity, to maintain a social license in order for us to farm. The person shopping on the right does not understand why we use GMOs, why we cut eye teeth in our pigs. The gentleman on the left really likes to farm, but by himself has a tough time reaching the consumer on the right. So collectively, in associations, the farmer on the left is able to be heard. Really, there's no one else to look around and say they're going to do the talking for me. There's just 1% of us today in production agriculture. And to use an analogy here, the deer on the left might be something you would see pretty commonly as you're driving around the countryside in Ohio. You may look at that and you might notice it, and you might point it out to anybody riding with you, but it wouldn't be that rare in order for us to see it. The deer on the right, an albino, which represents 1% of the population of all the deer, would be extremely rare for us to see. In fact, if I saw that deer, I would probably stop the truck, get my phone out, take a photo of it so I could share it with some of my friends. This would be such a rare occurrence, it would be very special. If you think about it, somebody who grew up in downtown Columbus or downtown Cleveland or Cincinnati would be just as rare for them to have a conversation with an actual farmer as it would be for me to see an albino deer. So if you think about that 1%, there's really no one else that we can point to that to do the talking for us. We have to do it ourselves. As states, we get connected with other state organizations of a particular commodity and become national organizations. It's the way we grow strength. Within Ohio Corn and Wheat, we're involved and affiliated with the National Corn Growers Association and also the National Association of Wheat Growers. Theodore Roosevelt said it very boldly: every man owes a part of his time and money to the business or industry in which he is engaged. No man has the moral right to withhold his support from an organization that strives to improve conditions within his sphere. So I appreciate the fact that you are a member of Ohio Corn and Wheat. I hope that you use this opportunity to understand just how powerful we can be when we combine our voices. And no matter where you go in agriculture, there's an association that will represent the people that are engaged in that particular business. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, and thank you for your attention.